the most important question in business strategy is always to solve the right problem. We have plenty of tools, but do we have the right problem? And so that's my feeling about AI in its current form. And I think there are two beliefs which may be getting in the way of the biggest potential source of value, which is using AI as a social technology. So the first problem is what I call neo-dataism. So maybe some of you remember that some years ago there was a Wired magazine cover that said, if you have all of the data, why do you need a theory? And the idea would be we'd collect all of the world's data, and then we wouldn't need any 2x2 matrices, any decision frameworks, any human interpretation. We would just know, because I mean, the Latin data means that which is given. That which is given is everything in the data. And we have a modern, I guess, instantiation of this religion, which is neo-dataism, which is that the idea that if we have all of the data and we have the best possible algorithms, we really don't need all of these sort of messy human traits and capabilities. But this cannot be true, of course, for a number of reasons. Number one, human ends can only be decided by humans. Like, what problem are we trying to solve for ourselves? We're not trying to solve a problem for the computer. So the humans have to at least say, what is the objective? We own our own ethics. Only the humans can get to say, well, is this ethical to do this thing that we want to do? I can't imagine a world where data comes self-labeled as believe this. Well, it might, but there's no reason to believe it, even if it comes with a label saying believe this. So we clearly have a problem with any cognitive technologies, whether to trust it. And humans are very sophisticated in terms of trusting. We know who to trust knows something more than we do. We know who to trust as being generally truthful. And so we have this sort of social technology of trust. And that has to be applied to any tool. There's no reason why we should believe the output of any tool. Furthermore, in the strict area of pure mathematics, we have the no free lunch theorem, which basically says that it is mathematically impossible, not hard, but impossible to have an algorithm that can solve all problems better than any other algorithm. So the choice of the algorithm is a necessary human task. Individuals will consult an oracle, an LLM, or a transformer model to get what is probably true, because a lot of people said it on the internet at some point during the last 10 years. That is an individual use of technology, but of course, think about actual human endeavor. It's highly social. Groups of people have to agree the shared objective, the shared framing of the problem, the shared solution, the data set to be trusted. They have to navigate their own social processes so that they can align on those things. So that is, I think, the bigger problem to be solved. So what's missing? It is this idea of that Tom talked about generative collective intelligence, having tools which potentiate and extend human collective intelligence. Because there are some constraints, right? Only one person can speak at a time, so we have a limited potential for parallel processing. People that don't speak in meetings, we don't know what they're thinking, so we don't have a very good radar for. We actually do have some ability to recognize involuntary facial muscle configurations, so we can observe and infer what people might be thinking. But in terms of seeing the convergence or the divergence of a group, technology could really help here.
Sandy Pentland, faculty at MIT, faculty at Stanford. Don't ask, it's complicated. And I've started a number of companies which, in some cases, are relevant here. For instance, about 20 years ago, I started a company which actually uses, oh, can't hear? Okay, better. So I started a company that uses very simple AI to support about 10% of all the births in the world. That's pretty good. Doesn't make any money. It's a B Corp, right? That's why you've never heard of it. I think that the core thing that's wrong with the way AI is framed is this idea that we're rational or almost rational individuals, right? Everybody knows that that's what economics is based on, policy is based on, and they sort of quibble about the rational part. That's what AI is supposed to help, right? But I quibble about the individual part. because we are not individual. If you look at any of the sort of data out of psychology or sociology, Danny Kahneman's work, you see that about 95% of our decisions are based on the culture we're emerged in, right? They're not consciously thought through. They're what everybody else does. And if that's the majority of our lives, we better try to understand how we get that right. And the way we get that right, of course, is through conversation with other people, finding things that we think as individuals might work, or things that we see other people work. But I object also to the word collective intelligence, because the people I learn from are people who have the same problems, constraints, desires that I have. It's my community, or communities, because I'm part of several communities, like everybody, okay? So it's community intelligence, which comes together, we talk to each other, and we select things that we, as a member of the community, believe. And that dominates our decision making. So the question is if that's what happens, how do we support it? Well, social media was supposed to do that, but it turned out that they put in loopholes for various reasons to make money that meant that there were these huge dominant voices, which destroys this community intelligence. You just hear the loudest voices. That's all you hear. And so what I've been doing now at Stanford is building systems that are open source, free systems, to be able to address that. So the first one is deliberation.io. That's the URL. You look at it. It is a system that is inspired by Polis, if you know that, and some of the other collective intelligence platforms, but with a lot more maybe sort of user interface science and cognitive science in there. And we find that we now have a platform that can be used to generate consensus that's better than humans by themselves can, and better than other techniques. And it also, unusually, allows minority voices to be heard better. So take a look at it. The city of Washington, D.C. has just decided to adopt that. The mayor will announce that on Monday. We have a number of other cities that are going to adopt that as ways of cities to know what their citizens are thinking and finding policies that will be consensual among those communities. But that's only the first half of it. It uses AI to help essentially be like a Rogerian psychologist to sort of ask people, does that really think what you think? Can you say why you think that? So it's trying to encourage deliberative discussion. That's one of its little secrets. But in the world that we're entering, we're going to have these agentic systems everywhere, which are essentially very loud voices, again, that are trying to get us to buy this and do that and do the other thing. And if we're going to have discussions that suit us, we need to be defended from that. And so what we're doing is we've joined with Consumer Reports, and we'll be with AARP, Mozilla, people like that, to build, again, open source AIs that are owned by the individual and which legally represent the individual to defend you against all those other guys, okay? And they're unique in the sense that because they're not giving up your data, you can trust them. They are legally representatives of you. You can trust them with all your data, which means they can learn and reflect back to you, and with your permission, they can begin deliberating with other people in your community about the patterns you actually see, sort of surfacing all the implicit things that we all know but can't put into words. And so that's Loyal Agents, all one word, .org. Take a look at it. You can see a number of the things, which is open source technology that is designed to make you safe in this world of agentic vision, AI, and which is designed to promote deliberation. So the sites will speak better for what we're doing than me. So there you are.
A quick background on me, Jacob Taylor. I'm a fellow at Brookings Institution and increasingly working on human AI collaboration and collective intelligence. And seeing an opportunity to try and bring together a lot of the threads that we're seeing at this conference and validating that in a research agenda and bringing community around that. So I'd be interested in anyone who's up for those conversations coming out of this conference. Like a few people in the room, my background is as someone who's been on the search for the holy grail of team performance and collective intelligence. I'm a professional athlete by background, a rugby player from Australia, anthropologist by training, where I spent a couple of years living with Chinese rugby teams and trying to figure out how the team clicked in that context. Then onto a DARPA program trying to build an AI teammate, and now I've ended up at Brookings trying to build teams for the world's toughest challenges, many of which are embodied in the Sustainable Development Goals. So these are 17 goals that 193 countries agreed upon in 2015 through years of deliberation, 169 sub-targets, and 35 of which are pretty measurable, the others not so much. But I say all of this because I think it's important that we start with, when we talk about collective intelligence, we start with the problems we're trying to solve. And in my day job, a lot of these problems, whether it's ending extreme poverty globally or dealing with homelessness at the level of a city or anything about conservation of nature or gender equality and so on, a lot of the answers, the technical answers are there and developed, and a lot of the money is available. Really what happens is a breakdown in collaboration and problem solving to get all the actors to work together in a way to get the job done.